Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds, and we got a good show tonight. We got a special guest tonight. This is a part two. If you missed the first one, you can run back through my YouTube and check out the first episode. My guest tonight is the founder of the North American Dogman Project. He was on my show earlier in the season. Like I said, if you missed part one, go check that out. This is a part two. Tonight, he sent me some evidence just shortly after we talked the first time, and we're going to be talking about some of his evidence from the North American Dogman Project um, on the show here, and we'll let him describe and everything what is going on. So, without further ado, I'm not going to keep him backstage. My guest at this time, Jody Cook, founder of North American Dogman Project.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Jody, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
we had a good show last time.
yeah, it was a good show. Some of my viewers, the ones didn't tune in the first time, tell them a little bit about yourself.
All right, I'm the founder of the North American Dogman Project. I've been doing cryptid research since the late 1980s. Um, I've been well over 30 years, to be honest with you. I did a lot of Bigfoot research in the beginning. Uh, Prior to that, I was UFO investigator. That's kind of how I got into the Bigfoot stuff. And the Bigfoot field got really a lot of politics, clicks, stuff like that. So I said, I had enough of this. There's this new cryptid out there called Dogman. I want to go look into that. And that was like in 2006. And just from there on, that's all I've been doing. And we got a really good website. It's in the top 100, which is really good. Let's see, we get about 5,000 views a month, which is really good. Um, we get a lot of, like I said, a lot of activity, government activity on here. To be frank, we actually had our website provider sit there and tell us that there's a lot of three-letter agencies that's been monitoring the site. So, and that's been going on for about year and a half now, and they're still doing it. So I don't know if they're watching us or if it's just some employee, on the coffee break, just
Right.
on a government computer, just browsing and then ran across the site. So, but there's a lot of them that's out there. So yeah.
Yeah, and Dogman's a big hot topic nowadays.
Yeah, it's starting to be the biggest cryptid right now. Over Bigfoot, believe it or not, because when I first started doing it in 2006, it was it wasn't really out there. You know what I'm saying? There was, you had the Beast of Bray Road, you had the Michigan Dogman, you had some stuff come out of Pennsylvania, at Shenango Valley, but that was really about it. Okay, there's a lot of history going back further, especially here in Ohio, which was the Defiance, Ohio case in 1972, where they said was a werewolf was harassing the town of Defiance for about 4 to 5 days, maybe a week, and it got to the point where, I mean, I talked to the chief's wife a few years ago after the chief passed, and they were taking this very serious, a very serious case. But they had to sit there and kind of calm the people down. So they made up this idea was, well, it was wearing clothing. So it might have been somebody in a costume, which they knew that's not what it was. Now, this thing was killing livestock. It was killing cows. It was killing horses. Okay. It was killing pigs. And they're saying, well, it was probably a rogue bear. Okay. But the problem with that is Ohio did not see permanent beer in this state until like 1984. So it was like 10 years, you know, after this happened, started getting a lot of bear population. But what this thing was doing, to the livestock was something a bear couldn't have done. I mean, a
Right.
bear wouldn't have been able to drag these, large animals out of their pen, take them to an area and then, eat them. It because the bear would have done it right there on the spot. So that's the kind of history stuff. I was really getting into when I was getting into the dogman stuff. But like I said, it goes back a little bit. There's a lot of history of, but it's just one of these things that nobody ever took serious. No one ever wanted to talk about because it was a mystical creature, a werewolf. So it was like they're talking about vampires. It was that type of lore. But now, with everything moving and more sightings are coming out, more and more people are talking about it.
Right.
So that's a good thing.
Like we were talking before, Missouri's been getting a lot of
Mhm.
sightings of dogmen, and
Well,
Oklahoma as well.
Missouri, because I was stationed out at Fort Leonard Wood when I was in the Army, and I mean, I Fort Leonard Wood, I mean, it's built up now. It's a beautiful base. When I was there, it was nothing. I mean, they had like one Walmart, had one
Right.
hotel with a bar, outside the base, and that was it. But you know, Bigfoot was a real big thing out on the post because a lot of people saw it, out there. A lot of people had a lot of sightings out there. Now those sightings have gone down, and the Dogman stuff is like pumping up. I mean, you know, uh, I talked to people who went there for basic training that saw stuff. People that were stationed there that saw stuff. The military knows about it, but their whole thing is we just need to let it alone. If it hurts somebody, they'll send a team out to go take care of the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had sent me some evidence shortly after we talked the first time, and
Mhm.
I have it uploaded. Let's talk about this picture right here.
Yeah. This is um, um, William Henry Harrison, the president. Um, was born here in Cincinnati. Okay, actually, I think it was North Bend, and he has a tomb where he's buried at. Okay, not far from my house, but right up from the cemetery. If you walk up some stone steps, there's another cemetery there, and I think the last person that was buried there was right between the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. So no one knew us up there.
Right.
Beautiful cemetery though. It's got the old Gothic style stone and headstones. I mean, just real beautiful. People go up there and take pictures. It's beautiful when during the fall. And one of our team members went up there to go take some pictures and saw this thing digging in the ground and took the picture and just she was a female and she left. I mean that it was just
Right.
and this is kind of a blow up of it. There's another picture where you can kind of see it. Yeah, this is the original picture, and she's standing right there at the steps, and you can see it right there. Um, and we went up there afterwards, and we found the hole. We found the stick that it was using to dig with. But see, here's the thing. For like the longest time, we thought it was a Bigfoot because we know there was Bigfoot sightings up there in the area, and we thought, well, maybe it might be a cougar because um, one was sighted up in that area a few weeks earlier, and I don't think it was a cougar because the color of the face and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
that's the color of it.
Yeah, the body's the color of it, but the face is quite different. Cougar's face has a little bit of white in it, so you would have been able to see it. The face on this thing is very dark, but we were trying to analyze the picture and do what we can to try and enhance, clean it up and stuff. And one thing that we noticed is that it has a snout and the ear is kind of pointed. So we're thinking, well, could it be a dog man that is
Right.
digging because we've had sightings in the same exact general area. So we're not sure what that is. But the thing about if you can bring up the bigger picture,
The blow up one.
blow up. Now, if you look at the arm, you can see how massive the arm is. The front part right here has that lot of hair like a gorilla would have. Okay. And so, and now the weird thing is she took this with a digital camera, which like, I don't think anybody ever uses anymore, you
Right.
know, but she took it with a digital camera. But what's so unique about the picture? If you look right above the head, you kind of see a jawline, a mouth that looks like a mustache, and a nose.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Which people think, well, that was, President Harrison that showed up. And if you go right next, you see an entity that looks like an alien, the big head and the two eyes,
Hmm.
you know. But there again, digital cameras does this kind of stuff, you
Yep.
know, that but it's kind of neat and gauchious looking because being from, a cemetery, but we're not real sure what this thing is. If it's a Bigfoot or if it's a dog man. We do know like the air looks kind of pointed. It does look like it has a snout. It's
Yeah.
definitely the skin tone of it is dark, and the hair color is like a light brown color. But you can see where it's sitting there and it's got its arm out where it's digging. Like you said, we found a stick that it was using to dig into the hole. It wasn't digging into any grave or anything like that. It was just digging like a hole.
Hmm.
So we don't know if it dug up something or if it was trying to bury something.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, it's a neat picture.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way of saying that's like a bear or anything like that because how massive that
Oh
arm.
yeah, yeah. It you know um when she saw it, I mean, you know, she noticed the movement was the first thing, and she just boom, she took the picture. It didn't even look at her or made any sound or anything like that, and she got scared and she ran. You
Hmm.
know, so yeah, like you said, it's an interesting picture. I just wish she would use something other than a digital
Right.
camera to take the picture. You
Right.
know, because it's just so many pixels. I mean, if it was with our iPhone and stuff, we would have been able to clean it up really good and got a better view of it. But you know, it was the camera she had in her hand at the time, and she likes using it. You know, because she can take the SD card out and put it in.
Right.
And do it and stuff.
And
But
that brings us to our next one. This picture.
oh yeah, this case is pretty interesting. It's Akron, Ohio, and um, this is another cemetery. Okay, and you can see this thing right there. You can see how long the fingers and the claws are. It's
Yep.
digging in the grave. Okay, what happened was we had this lady reach out to us that her daughter and her friend was going to lunch. She picked her friend up, and they like to go sit at the cemetery to eat. Now they had a small baby in the car with them. So as they're pulling up to go to the spot to sit, they see this thing digging in the grave. Now, like I said, you can see it's kneeling down. It's completely black. It's definitely got hair, but you can see the high pointed hairs on there. And I think I sent you like a black and white version of it. Yeah, like kind of a close up, kind of gives you a
Yep.
better view of it. And like I said, the hand is massive that's on this thing. Now it's next to a building. There's a car like sitting right behind where this thing is. Okay, where one of the employees parked. There's a camera there that was like right down on that whole situation and stuff. Did I send you the video?
Yeah, you did send me the video. We have the video right here.
Yeah. So you can see where the car is. Now they're going to go ahead and pull up to get a little bit close.
Digging for what? We need with her hands. See? She doesn't have... What is that?
Yeah, I kind of wish they would have stuck around to get a little bit more
Yeah.
video. But they said because they had the child in the car, that was one of the reasons.
Yeah. Kind of
She's getting out of there, man.
Yeah, so this is the point they kind of get scared and we're leaving. So
weird.
we went up there
Okay.
and we spoke with the people at the cemetery. Okay, now their thing is they weren't allowed to talk about it. Okay, because this was an ongoing thing with this creature would come up there and dig in these graves. They know about it. The video was confiscated by the police. So I mean, like I said, there's a camera right there that was just video watching, right there on this when this thing was digging in. And I think I sent you pictures of the grave, did I not? Now this was after they filled it back up.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And this is the actual grave that it dug into. So it only went down maybe, 1.5 feet. Okay. But there was nothing in there other than the casket that was down in there. So, I mean, this thing did a hell of a job,
Yeah.
digging there. But you can see like this area right here. Okay. When you look at the picture off to the right, okay, you'll see like a piece of grass thing right there.
Yep.
You can see where this thing was sitting, where they came in and just messed that area up. So where there were no prints or anything like that. They literally just messed that area up to cover up any type of prints, any type of hand prints, any type of knee prints, or just anything showing it was there.
Right.
So, but they did leave it there. But we took there's a wooded area, okay, that's in the back there, and there's a fence line there. So this thing comes from the wooded area into the there, and it digs these graves up. So they said they're not allowed to talk to it. They know it's there. They're supposed to just let it be, and just leave it alone and just call the number they have for if this thing ever shows up again.
Right.
So yeah.
Do you know if they've had any more sightings of it lately, or
if there was, they're not talking about it. I mean, they're afraid. I mean, these ladies are absolutely afraid. They're not afraid of this thing. They're afraid if they go public that it's they could lose their job.
right?
Something can happen. It's just it's the power of B who doesn't want this information out. Now, here's the thing. Akron is a very, very heavy area with a lot of dogman sightings, a lot of them. Okay. We did an investigation up there a few years ago. I spoke at a conference up there. Okay. And it was a paranormal conference. So I was really good friends with one of the people that ran the conference. Okay. So she introduced me to a witness that saw a dog man run across the road. She goes, where she almost hit this thing. She, drew me the picture of what it looked like and everything, showed me the park that it was at. And we just, became really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
So about a month later, I get a call from this lady, okay, who ran the convention. Says, listen, a friend of mine just called me. Her husband is a park ranger for the Metro Park System. Okay. He had a dog man sighting just an hour ago. Okay. You need to get up here and talk to this guy. And I'm like, okay. I got up, told my wife, and said, listen, I'm driving to Cleveland. Or Akron. And so she's going, have fun, and I drove up there all night. It's like a 5-hour drive from Cincinnati. got up there, talked to the ranger. Okay, took me out there, showed me where the incident happened, and we found 168 tracks from where this thing came in from because it snowed. It snowed that night. So, I mean, all the fresh tracks were still there. There were 3-toe tracks. It was a human style foot with 3 toes with claw marks. And they're on my website, on the North American Dogman Project website. And the actual drawing from there is on there too. So he drew what happened. Okay. So he's in the park. There was an area that had like a lock on it that he had to check. Okay, in the parking lot area there. So he's there checking it. So his vehicle's facing towards the exit going out. Okay. And there was a tree line there. So he sees this dog sitting there. Okay. And he said this dog, his lights are on the dog. He said this dog had like this really odd expression on his face, like a grin. He said it looked kind of like a German Shepherd wolf, but he was really big, but it was just like sitting there like a normal dog sits. And he had like a hamburger where he stopped and got something to eat, and had part of a hamburger. So he threw it to it so the dog would have something to eat because it's cold and snowing. Didn't even look at it. He's trying to call it over. And it just like had this odd look, like it was kind of like smiling at him. So he gets in the car. So he's pulling up to it directly, and he's getting ready to turn to go out. As he does that, he says it stands up on 2 legs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it looks at him. He said, this thing is massive, probably about 7 foot, 7.5 foot, turns, starts walking towards the way he's pulling out, crosses the road, and runs up into these like apartment or condos, area up through there. And he gave us, a little map drawing of, from the view going down and of this thing that he saw, which is on the website. This guy was scared as hell, man, of what he saw. So we ended up talking to the Metro Park System, and, they admitted that there have been sightings of something in the park. They wouldn't say what it was, but they acknowledged it. So I said, okay, would it be possible if we can go into the park, have a team come into the park, do an investigation overnight? You can bring 2-3 of your, rangers, armed rangers with us, and we'll do an investigation. We won't release anything to you guys. Look at it and so forth. They were all for it. And then the day before we were supposed to come up to do it, they're like, no, it can't happen. You guys are not supposed to be in the park at night. If you're there, you were going to arrest you for trespassing. So yeah, somebody got to them,
right?
And stuff. So this is how serious this situation is. Okay, because I'm going to tell you this. I guess it was 3 years ago. A production company came to us and said, look, we want to do a series on Dogman. Okay. We did all the research. We found the North American Dogman Project was the most professional, you guys, group of people and stuff. So we felt you guys were the great, a great thing to do. So A&E, Arts and Entertainment Channel, was the one that, picked it up and forked the money out. Okay. So, it was great. We did 4 episodes. We filmed like 4 episodes. Okay. We got stuff that would blow your mind away. Okay. We got some of the most horrendous vocalizations from this creature. We had a thermal imaging of a canine type creature on 4 legs, get up, stand up on, and start walking on 2 legs on thermal imaging.
Oh, wow.
Okay. We had, carcasses of dogs, a boneyard, a site where this thing took and ate, had a freaking cow that was in there half eaten. It had, large dog, it had deers, it had all the animals, it was just this kill site, man. And I mean, we had witnesses that were telling some of the most crazy stories. And it was in Germantown, Ohio. Okay. They call it the Germantown werewolf. And this is where all the good evidence took place. And it goes back to the 1970s, where it was called the Butter Street Monster, where for a lot of people, Ohio is farmland. It's flat farmland. We're a dairy and pork state. Okay. So they Germantown was farm area. Okay. All farms. So they decided to build a residential area in one particular part. Okay. Went in, I think, like a mile and a half maybe, and just built houses and call the street Butter Street. Well, they built this right in the dead center where this creature lives. So people were seeing this werewolf, okay, in the 1970s, and they were calling it the Butter Street Monster.
Mm-hmm.
So there's history there. So the execs at A&E, was reviewing the shows. Okay, nothing was put on air yet. This was all just filming to get everything going for when the series started. It scared them so bad that their legal team said no. They said, if this thing kills or maims somebody, that's a liability on us. And plus the evidence that they saw. Okay. And our sizzle reel, which was our sizzle reel had some good stuff in it. We had one guy on our team that was on there, and he states this. He goes, "Listen, I carry, I'm trying to think what they call it. It's like a trail cam, but it's a GoPro."
Oh,
I carry 2 GoPros on me when I'm out there. He goes, if I run into one of these things and it kills me, okay, I'm willing to be the first person killed by this dog man because we'll have it on tape to verify its existence. And A&E said, no. So yeah, they dropped it. They said, no, we are not going to do this. And here's the thing that really pissed me off more than anything. Okay, is that all that evidence they would not let us have. They turned everything over to the Department of Agriculture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is the United States Forestry Service.
Yep.
Okay, and it's like, why would you turn all that evidence over to the federal government? Because one of the women that worked there, her husband worked for the Department of Agriculture. He worked for the U.S. Forestry Service. She knew about what was going on with this show, told him about it. He told, I guess, their superiors. They came in, looked at everything, and said, you know what? We need to hold this. And A&E just freaking gave it to him. I mean, it was that nuts. That's why you don't see anything about Dogman right now on TV. Because this is an apex predator. Okay. This thing is probably taking human life, and it's, it's a liability, is basically what it comes down to. But, the thing of it is, you can't, it's like, if you can't learn to drive if your hands are in your pocket.
Exactly.
Okay. So you need to find out what's going on. You have to send people out there. I'm against killing this thing. I'm truly against killing it. Okay, to prove the existence. But it needs to be studied.
Yeah.
100%. But like I said, there's just too many people out there that just does not want this out there. Bigfoot is not a liability. Okay. Bigfoot is a docile creature. Okay,
Yep.
he'll kill you. I'm sure he will. Okay, if you screw with him enough, but he's not just going to walk into your campsite at night, pull you out of tent, and smack you up against a tree. He's not going to do that. He's going to scare you to get you to leave.
Yep.
Okay, Dogman is a different situation. He's going to kill you and he's going to eat you. Okay, Dogman is the thing that goes bump in the night, but he bites.
Yep.
Okay, that's the difference. Okay, so other evidence that we have, I'm not sure if this is on the website or not. I have to check, but we did a documentary on the land between the lakes. Okay, the massacre there, and we had a guy reach out to us. We did a podcast, and actually, it was his daughter reached out to us, for him, and he worked for the state of Kentucky. Okay, and he loves to go fishing at land between the lakes. A lot of good fishing there. Okay, and his job was part like restocking the lakes and so forth. But so he was on his deathbed. Okay, he's dying. He had like stage 4 colon cancer. Okay, and he was like ready to go. So he goes, something happened that I saw that I kept secret for years. And I want to tell everybody I need to let it go because I need to go to heaven. I feel if I keep this, God's not going to let me go to heaven. Okay. Guy was serious as a heart attack. So we sat and interviewed him, and, he's dying of cancer, man, but he's smoking. I'm like, what's up? I mean, you got cancer, you're dying. Because yeah, I got cancer, I'm dying, but I love smoking. My cancer has nothing to do with my smoking. I'm like, so okay, all right. So he goes, I'm gonna go out with what I enjoy. My wife took everything from me in the divorce, but she didn't get to take my smoking away from me. I mean, this guy was so cool.
Right.
But his story is that he was out fishing in this particular area of land between the lakes, and told us exactly where it was and stuff. We found the exact spot, and it was about 7:00 in the morning. He was out there since about 4. Okay, so about 7:00 in the morning, he starts to head out. He's going along the coastline, okay, in a boat. He has a little motor on it, going real slow because this is in October. It was cold. There was a lot of fog. Okay, so he wanted to stay along the coastline so he wouldn't get hit by another boat. But he was still able to see stuff off on the shoreline. Okay, so as he's going down, he sees a tent. He sees a truck. Okay, he sees like a campsite there, right? And one thing he knows is something what he thought was a horse because it's on all fours. It's on the next to the tent. So as he's getting closer, it stands up. So it's not a horse, and he's getting a really good view of this thing because it's light out. Okay, so he describes it. He says, legs like a dog, had a massive chest, long arms, long fingers. Head in the face was kind of like a hyena, but it had like a mane around its neck, not like a lion, but it's just like a mane is the way he kind of explained it. So at that time, 2 people are coming out of the tent. Okay. And he's yelling at them, look behind you, look behind you. And I guess with them just waking up, they kind of like wave at him. And he said, this thing literally pounced these 2 people, and it has them both pinned on the ground with his hands on each one of them's chest, and he's biting at them like this.
Oh, wow.
And they're screaming, and he's watching this as it happens. Okay, there's nobody other camp spot around, nothing like that. Okay, and he goes, listen, I urinated on myself. I was that scared. He goes, I passed out. I woke up, a little bit later. My boat is up against, a downed tree. that was on, the bank there. And he saw this. He saw this kill. He goes, everybody knew that there was something in that park. Now, this is in 1979. Okay. So this is 3 years. Yeah, 3 years before the alleged massacre that took place.
Mm.
Okay. So he's given us this on tape. Okay. He's telling the story. We vetted him. He showed us his retirement ID, showed me his LES forms, which was his pay forms from the government, from the state there, awards, citations, all that stuff. So it verified he did work for the state. Okay. He did do a job, there at LBL. And he died like 2 weeks after that interview and things. But yeah, we found the spot he fished at. We actually found the spot because he told us the length of time from point A to where point B, where the incident happened. And we found it. And what was weird is that about 10, 15 feet of that shoreline was taken out.
Mm-hmm.
You can see where they took it out. It's like 3 feet down. Okay. And the road that leads up there, they have like this big pile of rock and like concrete and stuff. So you can't even get to where that campsite was, by vehicle. You got to walk to go in there and get it and stuff. So yeah, they destroyed the area where that campsite was because the tent was close to the shoreline when it happened. And like I said, you can see, where they just pushed the shoreline in that particular area back like 15 feet.
Oh, wow.
Because, yeah, it was man-made. You can tell, because it was a perfect square. And, you can tell throughout the years, with the growth and everything, but you can look at it and tell that's not, nature did not do that. This was man-made, how this particular area was cut off there. So, yeah, that was a real interesting case, with that one there.
Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. Jeanette had a question for you. She asked, what state has the most sightings?
The state that has the most sightings is, honestly, Ohio is the state with the most sightings. Kentucky is second. Pennsylvania is third. Then you have Wisconsin, and then you have Michigan. Tennessee is kind of right between, I would say, Pennsylvania and Kentucky on the sightings. But right now, Ohio, they're just massive amount of stuff that's coming out of Ohio. I mean, just massive.
Yeah, Jeanette lives in Ohio.
Yeah. Right. I can tell you exactly where it's at. The Cincinnati, area, from Cincinnati going up to Oxford University, that whole area right there, are Route 27. A lot of stuff, man, happening there. Then you have a lot of stuff in Germantown. You have a lot of stuff that's coming out of Akron, and you have a lot of stuff that's coming out of Defiance, and you have a lot of stuff that's coming out of Norton. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening. I mean, we just had here in Cincinnati, just a few months ago, we've had 2 local police officers, have a sighting from 2 different departments in the same area about 2 weeks apart from each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were massive sightings. Yeah, I mean, they were like very close sightings to the police vehicle. The one officer was in his vehicle, but he didn't have his dash on. But the other officer was in his personal vehicle.
Jeanette says she's in Marion, Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, you can look on our site. We have a map. I think it's under encounters. You can bring a map up, and you can for each state, and it will tell you the different sightings in that area. We're like really behind on adding stuff onto there because we're getting so much stuff in and trying to go through everything to if it's legitimate, if it's not legitimate,
Right.
putting it out, and then we're putting everything in a database. But we're making up new maps right now of each state where um, there's sightings of footprints and the creature itself.
Christy said you guys should come to Australia.
We used to have an Australian team that was part of the North American Dogman Project. But the guy that ran it ended up passing away, and his members, they were all older members, they all kind of went separate ways after he passed. But man, there's like all kinds of crazy stuff that's happening in Australia. We had a French researcher reach out to us and says, look, I'm doing a lot of stuff in France. I'm doing a lot of stuff in Europe itself. I want to be part of your organization and stuff. How can I do this? And I said, if you want to run the European chapter, I'll make you director. Just keep us informed of everything that's going on. He's like, dude, you got it. And now, we have a large European Dogman project now where we're getting stuff from Europe. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I was texting back and forth with a lady from the UK today. Man, just all the crazy stuff that's going on where she lives and the pictures that she's sending. It's pretty wild. There's a lot of stuff going on in Europe when it comes to Dogman.
Yeah, and I mean, plus with all the stuff that's going on with the war over there too, and I'm sure they're starting to get a lot of sightings.
Mm-hmm.
Things are getting moved around, and energy's getting picked up. So it's probably fueling them cryptids to move even more.
Oh yeah, there's like in Transylvania, they opened up Dracula's castle as like a bed and breakfast. Okay, which is I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there one day. But the guy, we know one of the guys that live out there, and he's like, man, I'm telling you, we got these werewolves that just like they're all over the place over here at this castle, and we kind of had to push back on opening it because the amount of these werewolves that are like all around the castle there. It was kind of neat, man. But he said, man, there's a lot of stuff going on in Transylvania. A lot of crazy stuff.
Christy says, I believe we have created what's happening on the globe.
What do you mean?
And Sandy says, would Dogman ever be in the same area as Bigfoot?
Yeah, I'll give you a really good story here. Okay, we get a call from this lady. Okay, through we did a podcast and we gave out a number. Okay, and that's it. Because we don't have a phone number where you can call the site, but we gave it out that night for people to call in to answer questions. And she lived right outside the Skinwalker Ranch. Okay. And she was telling us about this Dogman that's in the area and stuff. So we went out there and did an investigation. This area that she lives in, there's like about 5, I think maybe 6 homes. And they're probably about 75, 80 yards apart from each other because they're all like ranches. Okay. So they're pretty close, but they're pretty far. Okay. And there's this wood line that's in the back there. Okay. So we were talking with all of them. Okay. And they're like, there's a Bigfoot that lives in this area. We seen them. We know it's there. Never bothered anybody. Never bothered the livestock. We would see it. We would hear it. And it left us alone. We left it alone. Okay. Until one night, people were hearing like this scream, which was kind of different. Okay. Then animals were starting to be attacked. Pets that were out, like cats and small dogs, were coming up missing. other livestock was being killed and missing. And then they start seeing what they describe as a large wolf, but it walked on two legs. Okay. The one lady that actually was dealing with this, her daughter, right where her daughter's window is, she can look out, she can see the corral for where the horses are. And it was a nice summer night. The horses are out there and they had a spotlight, motion detector. So the light comes on, the horses are going nuts. The daughter looks out the window, she opens up, and she says, and she drew this picture, which was, she was like 9, 10 at the time. And she drew this really beautiful picture, and it's on the website. She goes, it was this wolf doing a crawl on the ground like an army man up by the corral where the horses were, which was like really neat. She drew the picture of what she saw. So that was the first sighting of this thing. Okay. So one night, everybody's woken up. There's these screams that are coming in from the wood line. Okay. This Bigfoot and this other creature, they're screaming. Something's fighting. I mean, it's just echoing. Okay. And then after that night, no one has ever seen the Bigfoot again. Never saw the Bigfoot again. But they kept seeing this werewolf dog man. Okay. And it still kept on doing crazy stuff. It was walking up to people's houses. It was putting its paws on the windows and face where you can see it was looking in. We have those pictures on the website. There was another house there where the lady was like out in her patio. Okay. And there's like this woods piece of, I don't know, wooded area that was like right there, and it's kind of open. And she sees something standing there, and she sees like this red, and she sees the eyes. Okay. And so she takes a picture of it, and she's like pulling it in, and it's a dog man standing there, and it's panting. You see the tongue, and it's like at this angle, kind of like this. And we have those pictures on there, and you have the shot from the original shot, blew it up midway, and then blew it up so where you actually see this thing, and it's standing there looking at her. It's the same creature that everybody was seeing, but she had it during the day in her backyard looking at her and stuff. So this is kind of stuff that was going on. This woman is she's an animal activist. Okay. She's like, please don't kill this thing, but she was out walking, and she's noticing all these scratch marks on the trees going up to about 7 feet all the way down to the bottom. She says it's not bear because there's no bear there, but they're like all these trees. So we have these pictures of all these scratch marks on these trees. Well, she found a dead fawn that was laying right in the middle of the road or the trail. So she wasn't far from her house. So she went back up to get a shovel to bury it. When she comes back, it's gone. Okay. So she goes back up to her house, puts the shovel up, decides she's not going to go for a walk then. She's going to wait a little bit. So when she comes out, about 2 hours later to go back for her walk, the fawn's laying in her driveway. Okay. So she goes, man, that's odd. It's the same one. We have a picture of it on the website. So she takes it and she buries it. Okay. And the next morning she wakes up and it's laying back on her driveway. Now, this is a woman that had the majority of all the encounters because she was the closest one to the wood line. And she was like the first house that was there by the wood line before you went in there. So yeah, she moved. Yeah. Yeah, because she was fair for her life. She was fair for her children. I mean, we have a picture of the horse where this thing took a chunk out of the front of the horse. Now, nothing is crazy enough to get in front of a horse.
Exactly.
Okay, a horse will erupt and it will kill you, and you can see the bite mark right in the center of the chest on this horse. And in the scratch marks, 5 scratch marks, man, going down the back of the leg.
Oh wow.
On there. Yeah. So, I mean, this thing did some damage to, her animals on the farm. And they on the whole people in that area honestly believe that it killed that Bigfoot that was there. And they were pretty pissed about that, because like I said, they said that Bigfoot never bothered anybody. It didn't attack anybody. It didn't treat anybody different. It didn't, mess with the property. They would leave gifts for it. It would leave gifts for them, you know. But they said this dog man just comes in out of nowhere and just, you know,
Right.
started to destroy everything in that community.
Jeanette had another question for you. Do you think the werewolf things like that are from evaluation or man-made experiments?
I think it's a flesh and blood creature. Okay. Now, with that being said, I believe that there is some supernatural aspects to it. Okay. Interdimension, you know, if anybody ever followed the hollow earth theory, where there's other civilizations that's living inside the earth, Bigfoot, Dogman, Mothman, some of these, the rake, some of these other cryptids could be from the inner earth and they come up. Okay. That's a possibility. I don't, I have a hard time wrapping my head around like the island of Dr. Monroe type situation where there's a chip in these man-made and the government sends them out. Okay. But with that being said, okay, if the government can weaponize something, they'll do it. Perfect example. Okay. The United States Air Force has full custody of the complete bedroom from the original Exorcist. Okay, what the movie was based off of, that little boy's room. It wasn't a girl, it was a boy.
Yep.
They have that complete, they have the bed, the dressers, everything, the rugs, curtains, everything that was in that room, and a storage, at Andrews Air Force Base. So why would the Air Force have custody of it
Exactly.
other than trying to weaponize it? Okay. And you don't want to weaponize something that evil because it's going to backfire on you. So could these things be? I wouldn't put it past it, trying to weaponize these things. I wouldn't put it past it, but I just believe that they're a flesh and blood creature. That is something that's always been there, but it kept itself hidden for a long time. Mm-hmm. Now, we do know a lot about, dog-headed men, from history. Okay, Saint Peter? Saint Christopher.
Saint Christopher, yeah.
The original Saint Christopher was the original painting of him in the Vatican has a dog head. Okay. All through history, the Vikings talk about fighting dog-headed men. So there's a lot of history, about that. The Middle East.
Yep. Even Native Americans too, as well.
Yeah, Native Americans talked about a dog-headed race. There's who was it? The Shawnee had a mask of perfect werewolf. Had the snout, the teeth, the high pointed ears, which was something very unusual for them to make. But they made a mask of the wolf that walks on two legs, which was really neat, that they were able to do that. The Cherokee here in Ohio, they talked about the big blue giants. Mm-hmm. And Fort Ancient, and this is kind of a neat thing. Fort Ancient is a Native American museum, and they have a battle axe in that museum that the Cherokees used to fight the big blue giants, but they never said who the big blue giants were. So we don't know if they were Bigfoot or if they were Dogman or if they were an actual giant. So we don't know that because the thing of it is when it comes to Native American culture, they really don't like the white man to know too much because they don't want the white man to bring the evil of it out.
Yep.
So trying to get a lot of this information from them is like really hard.
Yeah, I mean that's just like your Navajos, the skinwalkers, stuff like that. They don't
Yeah.
any. You mention a skinwalker in front of them, they're like, no, 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 that's shapeshift.
Yeah. 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 See, the thing that when we were out in Utah, the one thing we kind of find out is, you know, the 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 skinwalker is something completely different from what's the other one called? Oh, shoot, I can't remember what the other Native American type skinwalker is. Um, if you had an issue with someone over water, over property, or something like that, they said you can get a skinwalker to go and do whatever you want to them. You know, they said there was a lot of, a lot of that stuff that was going around, you know, as a weapon, you know.
Right.
So yeah,
Christy asked, Dogman, aka Dogma, is a shapeshifter, isn't it?
it is. It's a Native American. Um, oh, I can't remember. It has horns. You know, God, I can't
Oh,
remember.
yeah, the Wendigo.
Wendigo. Yeah, the Wendigo is the Native American version of Satan. So that's something very different from shapeshifter. And when you talk to Native Americans about it, you'll hear that there's something completely different.
Christy says, never walk behind a horse either. Nope.
No, no, yeah. But like I said, we got a lot of really, and you know, we got some LBL stuff. We had a witness send us a video of a thermal imaging video of a creature that they saw, and we took the video and we blew it up and we cleaned it up really good. And this dog man is holding a child, like a smaller dog man. And like you said, that's on the front page of our website, and it's pretty decent. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick, and I can looks like, but uh, like where you have your child, and your
Mm-hmm.
child's back to you, and you pick the child up by the arms, and the child brings its legs in.
Yep.
This is exactly what this thing was doing on the video. It's like you say, it was just carrying this smaller one with him, and like you said, it's a really beautiful thermal picture. I'm gonna bring it up on my phone here. So let me see if you can see it right here. Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to get where my camera is. Yeah, it's right there, and you can see, you know, how we were able to stable the film. You can see the head, the eyes, the high pointed ears. Um, so basically, what it was doing was this is an artist drawing of what it is.
Okay.
And you can actually see the video that's on the website, um, and where you can see this thing kind of like moving around carrying it. So yeah, it has a smaller one. That's gold. That video. I mean that evidence there, of this dog man, laying between the legs, holding a smaller one, and you can see that the head had a snout, had the ears. But here's the thing: it's a type 3 is what we figured out. Okay, a type 3 is your typical like Van Helsing style werewolf. That was like the movie Van Helsing. The legs are very human. The feet are very human. Okay, 3-toed, 4-toed, with claws. Okay, it bends at the knees like a human. Your canine, which is more like your howling werewolf from the movie The Howling, that is your canine. That is the most typical. Okay, the type 3, the one at LBL is definitely a type 3 because with that little one was able to pick, when it was lift up by the arms and it tucked its legs in at the knees. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a type 3.
I know the Warrens checked out one. I think it was back in the 70s in Connecticut. They spotted a werewolf up there that they
Mm-hmm.
went and investigated. I didn't see the actual evidence on it, but I do remember the case. They went
Yeah.
out and checked out a
And yeah, talked about it. Yeah. Yeah, I remember them talking about that.
which I could see them being up in Connecticut too. I mean, there's a lot of woods up in Connecticut as well.
They're they're in about we've had reports from about every state except Hawaii is the only state we have not gotten anything from. You know.
And another theory too, you know how all these people go missing on the Appalachian Trail when they hike. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if Dogman might be responsible for
You
that.
know, we I put in a letter to the Department of Agriculture for the U.S. Forestry Service. I said I would like to have a complete map of all bear attacks in the United States. They denied it. Now, this is a Freedom of Information Act. They
Right,
can only deny it if it's classified.
right.
Okay. Otherwise they have to release it to me, and they refuse to release it to me. So it's like, okay, why would bear attacks be classified? Well, because a dogman attack can be covered up with a bear attack.
Yep.
Okay. So what we're trying to do is take dogman attacks, dogman sightings, correlate them with bear attacks in the United States and see if there's, some type of connection. They knew what we were doing.
Yep.
I know they knew what we were doing, and that's why they denied it.
Well, it's like Christy said, the missing 411.
Yeah. Yeah. Pilates stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there was several years ago up in the Appalachian Trail, there was a woman that was hiking the Appalachian Trail from Pennsylvania all the way down to Kentucky, and she stopped at the one rest cabin, and a group of hikers were there and seen her. She spent the night there, took off in the morning, and was never seen again.
There's a lot of feral people in the area, and I think that's where a lot of, a lot of them are missing there too.
Yeah,
There's a lot of bear, there's a lot of cougar, there's a lot of wild boar, and there's a lot of stuff that can kill you there. And the thing of, Mother Nature cleans up after itself. Okay. That's why we don't have piles of dinosaur bones all over the place. Okay. You a body could be completely gone, within 7 days. The bones, would get carried off. A porcupine will eat teeth. They'll eat bone, just like, raccoons do. And squirrels will sit there and do it too. They'll eat the bone just to get the marrow out of it. So the body can be gone.
oh yeah,
Within a month. You're lucky if you'll find part of a bone, and animals drag it off.
yep. Especially cougars, they'll take it,
Yeah.
they'll bury it.
Yeah. Bears, they'll bury it too, and dig it up later when they eat.
Yep.
So
Coyotes, they drag them off as well. You get a pack of coyotes, they can drag off a human.
Oh yeah, yeah, they'll do it. Most animals don't have a boneyard. And that's realistic.
Yep.
Lions don't do it, bears don't do it, cougars don't do it, wolves don't do it. What predator has a boneyard
Right.
where they take it back and and eat it there? A lot of animals, like I said, a lot of predators I know of don't do that.
Yeah, because that lady, she vanished without a trace. They checked all the cliff sides to see if maybe she fell down a cliff, and there was nothing. It was like
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
blood anywhere, nothing.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. You know, they could have walked into a different dimension. You
Yep,
know, anything's possible. Alien abduction, like they said here just a
yep,
little bit ago. Anything's possible.
yep. Sharks don't do it either. Neither do alligators, and them too. They drag it down to the bottom,
Hmm.
let it rot, and they eat the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll eat the bones. They'll eat everything. You know.
I mean, I've seen squirrels, yeah, chew on deer bones out in the woods, and we'll drag them to their nests. And
Oh, I we had a bird's nest that had small birds in it. Squirrel. I watched a squirrel go up there, and it was eating the baby birds.
yep,
Out of the nest there. And it's like, man, I didn't think squirrels did that, but yeah,
yeah,
they'll do that.
yep. I mean, like here in Missouri, we've got some big black rat snakes that great.
Mhm.
They eat all kinds of animals. They
Oh
eat
yeah, we got them here too. Yeah, they'll eat turtles, man, if they can get it in their mouth.
and swallow it. Yep, they'll eat it.
Yeah.
We get some of them pretty long ones. We had one that went across my yard was probably a good 8 foot long,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
Barber says Appalachian Trail has a lot of sightings over
Yeah.
time.
I like that picture of a shepherd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh man, I have a quick story about my shepherd. My shepherd Max passed away 2 years ago, and um, I have a female shepherd now.
mm.
Don't ever get a female. Oh my god.
Oh, I had one.
Oh my god. I'm about ready to kill this girl, man. I tell you, they're like a clingy girlfriend, man. I'm
Mm,
not I'm not kidding. So we had um, we had on like down on my street. Okay, we have a fountain there, right?
mm,
Um, and on the fountain, there's an Indian, okay, from the tribe that was in this area, okay, and um, Cincinnati, Ohio. See, that's where I was located. Um, so on this fountain, there's a werewolf's head, like going all the way around. Now, this fountain was there since like the 1930s. Okay. So I called the Historical Society for the area that I live in and said, listen, can you tell me something about this fountain? Why has it got werewolf heads on it? Okay. This is kind of weird. Okay. And she kind of laughed about it. She goes, we don't know. This person put this here back in like 1933, someone rich, and they put two other ones on different parts of the country. Same exact things. Okay. Someone with money did it, and no one really has the reasoning why.
mm.
Okay. But everybody's always questioning about the werewolf face that's on there. Okay. Oh yeah, I love shepherds, man. Oh, when mine died, I cried for a week, man. I'm not kidding. I literally cried like a baby.
Yeah.
Um, so Max was 155 pounds. He was a huge male. Okay, he wasn't fat. He was just freaking. He was big. So to get back to the story, I'm asking them about this statue. So we're talking about it. And she goes, just out of curiosity, why are you into the werewolf stuff? Is it, and then I said, yeah, this is what I do. And I explained to her, and she goes, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. My girlfriend had a sighting of a werewolf over at the park yesterday, her and her husband and their dog. You got to talk to her. So I got a hold of her. We went over to the park. Now they just built this park along the river, okay, across the street from where I live, okay? Beautiful park. And they have a trail that goes into the woods, okay? So there you can take your dog and stuff in through this trail. So this couple was walking, okay? And up from the river, this deer just runs right past them. Okay. Just runs right past them. They said this wolf on two legs was running right in front of them after this deer. They said this thing was about 7 foot, and it said it was a wolf on two legs running after this deer. Okay, the dog just went bananas. This thing didn't even look at them. Okay, so they took off. Okay, I said, okay, did you call the park rangers and the police? They go, no, they would think we were smoking crack or something if we sat there and said that. You know, we didn't tell anybody. I said, we told our friend. You know, so they showed me the area. They left. I looked around. I found two beautiful prints. I mean, really print. One is a back paw, and the other one's like a hand, but it's four. Okay, I mean, this thing is beautiful. I believe I have a picture of it next to Max's paw print, and you can see the difference, man. And like I said, Max was 155 pounds. Every time I had to take that dog to the vet, and he had to have some type of medication, they put him on human medication because of his size.
Right.
Okay, and stuff. So what happened was, I've got chronic kidney disease. Okay, so I had to urinate. All right, so I'm looking around, no one's out there, so I urinated. Okay, and stuff. So I didn't think anything of it. So I got my cast made and everything. So the next day, okay, I say goodbye to my wife. She's leaving for work at 5 a.m. I normally take my dog out to walk afterwards. She calls me. She goes, man, there's all these black SUVs blocking the park, the two entrances to the park. So be careful. I don't know what's going on. Okay. So I said, okay. So Max and I go out. So Max, he's on the front porch. Normally he'll just go from the front porch down into the yard. He stops and he's sniffing into the air. So I kind of walk him down, a little bit. We're in the front yard and he's still sniffing. And German Shepherds, when they get to this point, they kind of like have a mane that go up. Okay. His was up and he's sniffing, he's sniffing at something. So I'm like pulling him down a little bit. So we got down into the front and I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? So this car passes. Okay. So, about 50 yards up from where I live, the street kind of goes like this. Okay. And there's a house that sits right there with a big tree. All right. So this car's going by and you see the brake lights come on. It slows down. It sees something. And then it just like hauls ass. I mean, you just heard it, man. It's just.
Mm-hmm.
So we're walking and I'm more walking and kind of pulling him. So we see this large animal sitting under this tree. And my dog is he's starting to growl. And then he gets into this panic mode. Okay. Where no, I'm not going any further. Okay. So for about 3 days, he would not leave the yard. He would do his out in the front yard. We have a fence in the backyard. So when I would put him out, he would not go out unless I went out with him. And this is true. Never seen my dog this scared in my life. Okay. Something scared him so bad, or he scented something. So one morning, my wife leaves. I try to get him to go. He won't go. So we have like a bay window. Okay. And the couch is up against a bay window. So I'm like, I got an appointment I got to go to a little bit later. I'm going to go back to bed for a little bit. Okay. So Max is sitting on the couch looking out. So I'm laying in bed. He's going ballistic. I mean, literally going ballistic. Okay. So I come in, I'm looking out the window and he's already off the couch. Okay. Making this like scare sound. Okay. I'm looking out. I don't see nothing. I open the front door. I don't see anything. Okay. No smell, no nothing. So I pull him into the bedroom. He lays there on the floor. I get up, get my shower, get up, ready to go to my appointment. So I walk out, and it was a little chilly out. Okay, so where my door is from my car, okay, there's a freaking paw print on the door, and you see the claw marks on there. Okay, on covering from the panel going across the opening of the door onto the door and onto the glass. This thing was probably about this big. Okay, where it put its hand up against my car, and you saw from the moisture made showed the handprint. Then something urinated on the hood of my car. Okay, you could smell it. It was urine. It was like right there on the hood, and like 2 days later, the paint came off in that area where this thing like urinated on my car. My dog saw something, and I don't know if it was this creature that he saw. And the only thing I can think of was the fact that it picked up my scent when I urinated there in the woods. Okay. And it followed me because I'm weak to it because, the sickness that was in the urine,
Yep.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was something. And then the lady from the historical society called him back and says, "You're not going to believe this. They killed a wolf. Just, 2 blocks up from where you live. They killed a wolf. The park rangers." I'm like, "Yeah, they killed a wolf. I'm sure they did. They killed this thing."
Yeah.
He said it was a wolf. But
Yep.
she said, yeah, because she talked to the ranger guy that she knew, and all he would say it was a wolf, a large wolf that they shot and killed. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah.
Kathy says, I've seen similar near my own home. I knew what it was. It reminded me of a werewolf in the movie, the way it jumped across the road. Whatever it was, got 5 of our calves in one night.
Please go to our website, fill out a report so we can document this. So, like I said, we can get it on our our map area and stuff. Keep your name completely confidential, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you can please go to the website and fill out a report, I'd really appreciate it.
Which, if this is at her house now, I've actually investigated out there. She's got a lot of stuff that goes on out
Yeah.
there.
What state is this from?
It's
Missouri.
here, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, the more stuff we get is the better.
And I mean, yeah, out there all hours of the night, you hear a lot of strange stuff out there at night.
Yeah.
I've been out there with her husband after dark, and you hear strange sounds you can't explain.
Yeah, we just got a really good vocalization that came out of Land Between the Lakes, which was really very similar to the one that we have on our website, which is kind of really, really strange.
Barbara says German Shepherd, don't get scared. He definitely sensed something otherworldly.
Oh yeah, I'm like I said, this dog's he's not afraid of nothing. He never was afraid of anything. Something spooked him that bad that he, like I said, for 3 days he wouldn't leave the yard. Definitely would not leave the yard.
Maria Haunted Hellcat says, I've seen Bigfoot. I was fishing in the lower field and I saw Bigfoot chasing a deer.
I'm gonna tell you a funny story. This guy, it's a dogman story. He contacted us and I talked to him and he goes, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. Okay, I drink. I love the bottle. Okay, I work hard. I like to come home. I like to drink. Okay, but I like to hunt. But I don't drink when I hunt.
Right.
Okay." So he goes, "I'm telling you, this is a legitimate story." The guy was in his 60s. Okay, so I don't think he would have made this story up. Okay, but it's really funny. Okay, he's hunting and he's right next to a tree, and he sees this deer, right? So it's black powder season. Okay. So he only has one shot. So he's going to sit there and take this deer out. He hears something come from behind him. Okay. So he doesn't shoot the deer because he think, well, maybe there's a deer behind me.
Right.
And it's, if I be quiet, it's going to come closer and I can get it. And it kind of shadowed him a little bit. Okay. And it's standing right next to him. And he looks over like this, and he looks up and he says, there's this werewolf standing right next to me. Okay. And it takes its arm and it's pointing towards the deer. Okay. And looks at him, looks at the deer, looks at him, looks at the deer, and put its arm out towards the deer. He goes, okay, I think he wants me to shoot this deer, but I want to shoot it. He goes, but there's no way I would be able to shoot this. But I'm thinking if I fire my weapon, it's going to run away and I would have something to fight with. Shoots the deer, kills the deer. It walks up, takes the deer, and leaves. He goes, this damn thing wanted me to kill the deer for it. And he goes, that's the most craziest thing, because he said this seems like looking at me, looking at the deer, pointing at the deer like it wants me to shoot it. And he runs off with the deer, takes the deer and runs off. And he goes, that's a true story. I swear that happened. So, could he be being us? Yeah, he could. But I just, I just had so much of a good conversation with this guy. Life is stranger than fiction, funny things happen, stuff happens, and stuff, crazy stuff. I mean, I talked when I was in the Army, I talked to MPs that were, sent to housing areas because of a prowler looking in a window. And it was him and the, female officer, and they see this large object, person type thing, next to a window where the baby's crying. And as they get closer, they see it's not human. They see this thing's like Bigfoot, but it's like rubbing the side of the house while the baby's crying. And the female officer grabbed his arm and said, he's not hurting anything. He's trying to calm the baby down. That's why it's rubbing on the side of the house. Crazy stuff like that. You get these stories, and what makes them so real, because you can see and hear the heart of the person telling the story. Yeah. My whole thing is, don't bullshit a bullshit artist.
Exactly.
Okay. Plain and simple. Don't do it. You can tell by talking to people how real they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I deal with a lot of that doing residential investigation.
Oh, if it's BS, you pick it up right away.
Yep.
You pick it up right away.
Yep. It's amazing some of the stories that you do hear out there, and how it just picked that guy to do its work for him and not even harm the guy and just run off with his deer.
I talked to a hunter that saw a Bigfoot, and this Bigfoot standing next to a tree, and it pulls a branch down, and where it's covering its head and its body, right? But you can see its legs. Like, it's like, you can't see me, because I'm looking at this thing, but it thinks that I don't see it, but I see his waist on down. So he kind of like went off, he kind of like looking back, make sure it didn't follow it. But he said it was kind of hilarious, how it just pulled this branch down, thinking it was, that branch was going to, cover its whole body. Yeah, right. You get crazy stuff like that, man.
I mean, that's like our Bigfoot experience, first ever, going to Gettysburg, up to the Allegheny Mountains, up through Pennsylvania, and it was somebody's trash can, and then stood up about 7 foot tall, looked at my car and looked at my dad, curled its lip, and was still holding the trash can lid in its hand.
Yeah. Like, you can't see me. I'm not moving,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Animals are funny, man.
We had this thing one night. It was black in color, and this was several years ago. I was on a Missouri Monster podcast talking about it. We were on our way home, and we were out. We got Amish that live ways up the road from us on Highway M, and we were coming past the Amish. There is a cemetery that sits up on top of the hill. This thing ran on all fours in front of my car, got to the side of the road, and then stood up on two legs like a human figure, looked at us, its eyes
Mhm.
were red, and then just disappeared.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
dad and I
Me-
looked at each other like, what the hell was that? My light passed right through it. I mean, it moved quick, and I thought it was an Amish guy walking along the side of the
The
road. So
road.
I got
Yeah.
down all fours and ran across because they wear dark clothing. So, and we could never explain it. Haven't seen it since.
I was walking my new shepherd. I was walking her one morning after my wife left work, and we were coming up to my house. I was on the opposite side of the street, and there was a street light there. And my dog, she stops, and then she looks, okay, and I kind of like look at her, see what she's looking at, and I look, and man, there was this like mist that was moving, and it, like right when it got under the light, it was a woman in a dress, you know, kind of like past us, which was like really weird. It's like it was like a ghost, man. But my dog saw it first.
Yep.
She saw it first. And I mean, to me, when it went under the light, it looked like a woman in a white dress, but it was like kind of like a white mist, man. It was like, it went like, and it was like it was gone, but you were able to see it, and it's like, wow, I got to see a ghost, man. Yeah.
I've got one in my house here. My cat will lay there and go watch the hallway. And he was the one night, and his eyes were as big as golf balls. He just laid,
Hmm.
just kept staring and kept staring. He didn't growl or anything, so he wasn't afraid of it. Then he got up, went through the living room, and laid right in front of the hallway, still staring at it, and never did acknowledge it. Finally, it must have moved on, and then he went back to his business again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Max used to would just when he was little, he would like bark. He would like bark at like the wall or bark in the hallway, you know, um, stuff, stuff like that. It's just, it's like when we first moved into our house, like if you're standing on top of the steps and you're looking down, there's like an outline of a body of a human and a dog. I'm not kidding. But when you go down and you're looking at it, you can't see it,
yep,
but you can see it if you're standing at the top of the steps. But my neighbor was telling me it's like the guy that lived there he would have a dog, the dog would be gone, he'd have a new dog, that dog would be gone, and have a new one, you know, and things. So it's like I'm sure my backyard's probably buried with a bunch of dogs, and this was just that was a warning or something, but uh,
right.
it's crazy,
Yeah, the other night, my bathroom flushed on its own the other night.
hmm
I thought my dad had gotten up and he was sound asleep.
yeah. Yeah, I see a lot of shadows on the corner of my eyes, man. Like something moving, like something looking in and then going back. I see a lot of that in this house. You know, I mean, I'm comfortable here being by myself. My, Raven, which is my female shepherd, she's she has not really reacted to anything strange in this house. I think whatever was here is gone. You know, Max noticed it more. You know,
Yep. Ranger says
yeah,
apologies.
Linda Goffrey. Yeah, I known her. Yeah, actually, I did two conferences with her. Yeah, good lady. Sad situation that she's passed. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she used to. godmother of Dogman research. She's the one that actually started it. She's the one that actually came up with the name Dogman, and she actually didn't like the name. She actually wanted to give it Man Dog.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the actual name she wanted to give to it. Yeah. I was in the Army. Yeah, 20 years in the Army. I was in Iraq. I was there for the initial invasion force.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I know I talked to Terrence Pop, who was also over there as well.
Who?
Terrence Pop,
Yeah.
he was a Green Beret, Army Ranger, and he was stationed over in that prison that Saddam Hussein used to use to torture political prisoners.
Yeah.
And he was telling me some crazy paranormal
Yeah.
stories out of there.
Yeah. They said that place was haunted with the amount of people that were, brutalized and murdered, in that prison. I talked to people that were there, and they said, man, that place was wicked. Wicked.
And that is U.S. Air Force, Gulf War, and Desert Storm.
I almost went to Desert Storm. Um, I was at National Training Center. I was a 50 caliber instructor, and we were training people on the 50 caliber to get them over, to Kuwait. And then we finally got our orders, and it's like, yeah, we get there, and the war's already ended. We got to get in theater, but we didn't get to go fight. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Barbara says many years ago, my ex and I rented an old apartment that was built on a school ground at the turn of the century. The shepherd we had back then, Jack, would interact with ghosts in our living room. We always thought it was a small child who we played with.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a dog ghost in my house, because Max was doing the same thing when he was little. He would play with stuff, like throw his toys, towards it and get into that little play stance and stuff like that. So I think there was a smaller dog that was in the house here, that passed.
Granzer asks, where do you see the future of investigations going with Dogman? Are you seeing rises in sightings or staying about the same?
No, it's they're going up and up and up. I mean, right now, Dogman is well over the Bigfoot stuff right now. I mean, it's absolutely crazy, the stuff that's coming in. Like you said, we're getting a lot from law enforcement, which we never did before. People in the military that we're getting stuff from. We got stuff from people that are in the U.S. government that has seen stuff, that has contacted us, in the past about stuff that they've seen. I mean, some really crazy stuff. We've like mayors. We've had a governor, former governor, that saw one. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's nuts. Everybody. We talked to these women that were, that owns a beauty shop, and it was on a Saturday afternoon. Okay. In downtown, Germantown, right, where all this stuff's taking place. I think it was about 11 o'clock. They said, they're getting their hairs done. And this dog walks up, looks in the window, standing there looking in the window, saying, "Oh, look how pretty that dog is. It's standing up and stuff." And it just walks off, and, they're just talking about how pretty this thing was. And it's like, well, how big was it? Oh, it was bigger than my husband, had his paws up against the window and stuff. But, but it was walking on two legs. It must hurt itself. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure they're just as curious as we are.
Oh, yeah.
Carol Garcia says, thank you for your service, Jody.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
And Jeanette said Saddam tried to attack us when I was there. He and his army was out in the desert after chasing the army to our base. 3 day standoff, then he retreated.
Yeah, the whole thing with the Gulf War, they should have finished them off. My thing, you know, um, we shouldn't have been in Iraq in the first place, and you know, Operation Iraqi Freedom. Okay, Saddam Hussein in Afghanistan didn't have jack to do with 9/11. Okay, nothing. We were in Iraq because of George Bush had a wild hair up his butt because Saddam Hussein tried to take his dad out, and that was the whole purpose of it. You
Yep.
know, that was the whole thing. We should have been in Saudi Arabia fighting, my opinion. Yeah, but that's where we should have been. We shouldn't have been in Iraq or Afghanistan because
Right.
they didn't do it. So, you know,
Peter asked Jody, do you cite dog-headed people in medieval art and legends as dogman evidence, or no?
yeah. I did a book. I don't think it's still available. Uh, the history of dog-headed men, and I talked about dog-headed men and you know biblical times, part of the church, just all through Europe, all through Asia, all through the Middle East. Just a whole history of dog-headed men. You know, I mean, it was a pretty interesting story that I talk about. I'm trying to think here. Um, it's in a book. Some guy did a book about giants and other cryptids and stuff. And so that whole book is in his book now and stuff. But yeah, I don't know if I have it up, the history of Dogman up on the website or not, because I was planning on putting it up there just as a good read.
Mm-hmm.
For people, it's just a small little paperback type book and stuff. So yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, Anubis. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Jeanette said she was in Saudi Arabia when that happened.
yeah, yeah. Most of us were in Saudi Arabia, and like you said, when we got there, the war has already ended, so we didn't get to go into Iraq. But I was still part of Desert Shield, Desert Storm, but I didn't get to actually go into Iraq and fight. But I was still in theater. You know,
I know my buddy KD, he did. He he was in active combat. My buddy Brandon was too in the
mm-hmm.
Marines.
Yeah.
Over there.
When I was in Iraq, I remember like our interpreter, I was asking him about dog-headed people, tribes and stuff, and he said, "Oh yeah, there was a tribe that lived up in the mountains, and they would come down and trade with people. Now they could understand what excuse me, they can understand what we were saying, but we couldn't understand with them, their language, but they understood our language. And this is in Mesopotamia, okay, which was the original name of Iraq before Iraq. So this goes back years, but they always talked about it in the mountains there, of dog-headed men.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
I know the Comanches did too. They've talked about it too
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
There was that one movie Tom Berenger did about the Native Americans, the dog.
Dogman. What that had nothing to do with Dogman. That was a tribe because they ate dogs, and that's why they call them Dogmen. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you see it in drawings of the Native Americans that they show Dogman, Bigfoot. So
Yeah, we got a lot of drawings on our website of what people have seen. Yeah.
and yeah, you hear it all the time, and they don't like talking about it too much. Like you said earlier, they keep it covered so we don't know too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure my grandmother's seen some because she's full blooded. She was full blooded Comanche from Oklahoma,
Mhm.
so I'm sure her parents seen stuff and back then. I know red dirt cryptids. They've been getting a lot of sightings. I'm actually going to be at a convention with them on the 8th. I'll take a picture of their map for you.
Yeah, if you could, please. I appreciate that.
And then we have monsters. They call themselves monstrous. They're at the convention too that do the cryptid that we're going to be at.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
we're going to be at a couple of different conventions coming up. The team's in one right now in Louisiana. I think that's where they're at. Yeah, Louisiana,
okay,
big cryptid convention down there. So yeah, we have a team and a table and stuff down there. So
Ranzer says I was in Panama when Desert Storm first started. I got the long aftermath of Operation Just Cause,
just cause, yeah,
another super short conflict.
yeah. I knew a lot of people that were there in Panama for that. Yeah, that was a wicked one.
Barbara wanted to know if you could add your website to the chat.
Yeah. Um, can you type it in? It's www.NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com.
All lowercase, right?
Yeah, everything lowercase. Yep. www.NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, definitely check it out. If you have any questions, let us know. Feel free to join. Um, if you have a report or something like that, fill a report out. We'll definitely get you going. Yeah, we're always looking for new members.
Yeah, I saw you guys. I just saw an ad
You're welcome.
on Facebook. You guys were looking for members.
What's that?
I saw you guys just put an ad out on Facebook looking for members.
Yeah. We're looking for more members and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, we just, the thing of it is we kind of cleaned house a little bit because we had a lot of people that weren't being proactive,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a lot of people that were being proactive. So we decided, if you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Right.
Move on to something else. We got stuff. I mean, we want to investigate reports. We want to get out to the field to collect evidence. We want to talk to people. We want to document stuff that needs to be documented. So a lot of people just didn't want to take the time to do that.
Right.
It was too much of an effort. So it's like, we want to find people that want to do it. We have a canine tracking team. Max was a part of their canine tracking team. When we went out on investigations, we, took our canines out there with us because we felt, that would be a good animal to find something for us or pick up the scent or something like that. And it was also a barrier between us and it. Okay. We didn't want our dogs hurt, by any means, but they were a deterrent, to use, for what we did. So yeah, we have a canine tracking team. We have a SRT team, which is the elite of the researchers that go out and do a lot of the research. We have a science team. We have a case analysis team. We have your basic researchers and stuff. We have a field manual, a real beautiful field manual that we wrote, which is, once you become a member, you can get a copy, PDF copy of our field manual and stuff. So yeah, it's a really good field manual. It's a lot of good information in there. Tells you how to fill out the reports. Talks about a lot of the different teams and stuff. We're actually redoing the new update manual now. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Granzer asks, Jody, any stories where U.S. military either fighting or combined forces know knowingly with the U.S. forces or any other nation's military?
We've had 3 stories come in, okay, dealing with like Dogman in a combat situation. Okay. One was there was a Canadian unit that was in Afghanistan in Kandahar. Okay. They were in, a defensive position that was dug in within the city. There was a large wall, that kind of was in the city there. Okay. So what happened was they saw a bunch of children come around the wall screaming. Okay. And then a bunch of pack of dogs were chasing the children. Well, they're thinking, okay, these dogs are going to try and eat the kids. Okay. So they were getting ready to open up on the dogs. Okay. Stop them from going after the children. But the dogs end up passing the children. So, okay, they said, well, something's not right here. Okay. So what they did was they popped smoke. Okay. Right there at the corner. Okay. They said this thing about 12 feet comes out of the smoke. Large, dark, dog-headed figure with like a robe around its waist, like a pharaoh's robe. Okay. They said it looked like Anubis. I mean, that's exactly what they said. They opened up on it and nothing hit it. Nothing hit it. And it just went away. And that was like the weirdest thing that they saw over there. But they said it had a head of a dog. It was about 12 feet, but it was all black. And like I said, Anubis was the only thing they can describe it as. Being. Then I was at a convention. A lot of paranormal conventions always brought like a cryptid person in there to kind of break things up. So I was at a convention in Kentucky. It was like Midwest Paranormal with Keith Age.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, it was one of his and stuff. So this was, like you said, this was, oh God, I can't remember. 2007, maybe, So we're at the restaurant bar at that was there at the convention. And I go up to the bar to get a drink. And there was a guy sitting there. He was military. I know he was military and stuff. Hold on a minute. Can I take a break for a second?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll get that question for you, Granzer, when he comes back.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah. My wife was just reminding me we got an early appointment tomorrow.
Yeah, we're getting ready to wrap up here.
Yeah.
So.
But I'll tell this story here real quick. So you can tell he was military. So we're sitting there talking, telling different stories and stuff. And probably would sit there for about 2 hours talking to this guy. And then he goes, I'm no longer in the military, but I'm part of a government team. And my job is to retrieve down UFOs and their occupants. That's what I do. I'm like, okay, we're drinking. This guy's going to tell me a really good story. Okay. So he says, we ran into the United States in the early 70s, ran into a species of alien that was canine in appearance. Okay. They were very hostile. Okay. The first ones they found were killed in the crash. The second ones they found were alive, and they were real hostile, and they weren't allowed to keep them in the United States. They had to keep them in a military installation, government installation in South America. It was in Honduras at the time. And these things ended up getting out of the facility. Okay. And so his team had to go down and kill them, because they were killing people. They killed people in the facility. They were killing civilians outside, and they ended up killing them. But he said these things, they wore like a body armor, kind of like a halo type body armor. No helmet, no gloves, no feet. It was just, from the legs, the waist, the chest, and the arms. And they had special weapons that to kill these things with. But it was just kind of a weird story that how this alien species of canine, and there's quite a few other stories that we've got dealing with alien species that of a canine, which is kind of crazy. Yeah.
Granzer asked, do you get a lot of pushback from other paranormal groups as you seen UFO camp versus Bigfoot camp?
The UFO field, we get a lot of people in there that like the Dogman stuff and the Bigfoot stuff because they believe there's a connection. Okay. Bigfoot researchers believe that Dogman sightings are Bigfoot sightings mistakenly. Okay. The Bigfoot field is the most non-open-minded group of researchers. Okay. They think Bigfoot's the only cryptid out there. Everything else is a mistaken Bigfoot. Okay. And that's the way they believe. But the paranormal field, on the hand, oh yeah, they're very open to, different cryptids because at least like the UFO people, they believe there's a connection. They believe there's a connection there.
Yep.
Bigfoot people don't. They're not open-minded when it comes to Dogman.
And then Granzer asked, Jody, how many Dogman sightings and even attacks do you think are improper sightings? Like the Gugwi is out there too, and it seems the most don't know about the Gugwi. And some will say it was Bigfoot, but when it's actually a Dogman and vice versa.
The thing about when it comes to a Bigfoot attack, when you hear about a Bigfoot attacking a human, you don't see where the body's been ripped open, organs taken out, stuff like that. Okay, it's normally broken back, broken body, that kind of stuff. Dogman attacks, they're the body's been ripped open. I mean, we have autopsies on our website, okay, of alleged Dogman attacks. Okay. And if you read these autopsies, no way a domestic dog did this stuff.
Right.
We have 3 of them on there. And when you read them, I mean, it's horrifying what these things did to these people. And you can see the coroner's having a really hard time trying to justify what he's saying because he has to say it so where it pleases people, and stuff. But, they're giving away little clues in there. And that's what's interesting about it.
Right. I mean, that's like there's that theory with the gray alien that they have a deal with the government to experiment on us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ned asked, did DNA get taken from the attacks?
Yeah. And they all came back as, um, domestic dog, but it's when you read the autopsies, you'll see. Yeah, you're going to know no domestic dog did what they did. One, the skin on the one was literally licked off of the
Yeah,
female.
there's
You
no
know,
domestic
yeah,
dog that's going to do something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. It's crazy.
Carol asks, what do you feel is the reason that dog men are so vicious?
It's an apex predator. It's like a wolf. It kills for food. You know, I think dog man kills for pleasure as well. To be honest with you,
Mhm.
I think there's just something so sadistic about this animal that yeah, it kills for fun.
Yep. So we're going to get ready to wrap up here. So where can people find you if they want to book you or
It they can go to North American Dogman Project, and there's a at the top of the page is there's an email for NADP questions at hotmail.com. If you want a question directly, you can do it through there. You can look through me, my Facebook page. Um, you know, you can go to NADP reports and just say, "Hey, I want to talk to Jody." Um, you can go to any of our NADP Facebook pages. Do it that way there. So yeah,
all right. I thank you for coming on the show again.
I appreciate it.
And I'm going to close the show out, put you backstage for a minute. I'll be with you in a minute.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Remember, if you're being bullied in the paranormal field, you do have a voice. Nobody's better than anybody in this field. We're all after the same common goal through the existence of life after death. So, with that being said, everybody have a good night. Stay safe out there if you're investigating this weekend. And we will see you Sunday night with our special guest, Carol Garcia, and psychic medium Rebecca, and my dad. So, we'll see you again Sunday night. Have a good night. Stay safe out there.